Fox News alert, B-52 bombers are flying off the coast of Venezuela. Trump's not bluffing. Right now, more than 10,000 U.S. soldiers are built up in the Caribbean, on ships in Puerto Rico, locked and loaded. Special operations helicopters were just seen flying 90 miles from Venezuela's coast. The chopper units used by Delta Force, Navy SEALs, and the Green Berets. The Black Ops were spotted off the coast of Trinidad. They're very important for search and rescue missions. Also spotted, Ghost was also confirmed to be in the Caribbean. That's the nickname for MV Ocean Trader. It's the kind of ship that doesn't want to be found. It's designed for black ops and special missions because it's dark and blends in with cargo. There's more. 10% of the U.S. naval power is now in the region. It's a major shift. There's subs, several destroyers, and F-35 fighters in Puerto Rico. That's on top of all the coke boats getting smoked to pieces by the week. Kilos of cocaine are washing ashore. Don't tell Hunter. Dozens of bad hombres becoming shark bait. It's got Maduro's attention. He's the dictator of the narco state, a very bad hombre, and we just doubled the bounty on his head. It's now 50 mil. According to the New York Times, Maduro offered us a dominant stake in Venezuela's oil, gold, and mineral wealth, and promised to cut ties with Russia and China. And Trump and Rubio said no. That tells me the gunboat diplomacy is going to end up with no Maduro and a Venezuela aligned with us, not Putin or Xi. American action in Latin America hasn't always ended well. Look at the Bay of Pigs. Other times, it's a piece of cake. It's our backyard. And Trump's just reestablishing the Monroe Doctrine.
Wow, that was a lot from Jesse Waters of Fox News. You know, few authors capture the butterfly effect of human decision-making like Jared Knott. He's a decorated combat veteran and award-winning author. Knott is best known for his international bestsellers, Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, and Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, Book 2, The Many Tiny Mistakes That Changed the World Forever. His work reminds us that the smallest human error, a missed message, a wrong assumption, or a single overlooked word can alter the course of nations. Today, we bring that lens to the present. President Donald Trump and Venezuelan leader, outcasted leader, I should say, Nicolas Maduro, are both amassing military forces in the Caribbean, reviving global attention on a region that once defined Cold War brinkmanship. So what happens when history repeats itself in whispers? Are we watching the first act of a geopolitical masterstroke or the early seeds of a global mistake? Joining us to unpack it all is Jared Knott. Jared, welcome back to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
I love it. Now, Jared, your books show how a single decision, often sometimes that goes unnoticed, can change the world. When you look at this current standoff between Trump and Maduro, what small miscalculation could turn a power move into a regional disaster?
Well, my impression, of course, from the news media is that there's very careful planning and very careful organization that's in place here. Now, what's going to happen, I don't know, but it's starting to look like they have a lot of things going on that we don't know about behind the scenes. There may be contact with the military. There may be deals being made with the military leaders, and so that the ground underneath Maduro may be shifting and falling away from him. There may be a sudden strike that brings on a coup, and he's replaced with a more democratic government. He is, of course, a very illegitimate government. Of course, the last elections, I think, were completely fraudulent. He's a narco thug. Without people would not elect him if they had a chance to make a proper decision. But going back to the Bay of Pigs that was mentioned briefly, that's an example of very poor planning and poor organization. One tiny mistake that occurred is that the American Air Force, or I should say the Navy, was going to give cover to the rebels coming into Cuba, but they made a mistake in terms of the time zones. So they arrived 1 hour off of where they were supposed to be there, and they were not there to protect the rebels' Air Force coming in, and they got shot down easily by the Cubans. Now, That was a tiny mistake. It was a disaster. Would that have changed the outcome of the Bay of Pigs invasion? I don't know if that alone would have done it, but it was an example of poor planning and poor execution. This, as I can see from the news media, is exactly the opposite. I think it's meticulously planned, well organized, both from the forces, the special forces, as well as the regular forces, as well as what's probably going on within the military itself. Maduro may find that his military is not there to support him when the chips are down and the final decision is being made.
Yeah, Jared, Knott, tone and timing, in my opinion, is critical in measures like this. I mean, you heard all the firepower that the United States is turning towards Venezuela and in the Caribbean area, and you just saw that Maria Corina Machado, she was just awarded the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, and she also, made sure that Trump got his due and proper acclaim from it. Is the tone and timing, why now? What was it? What do you think was the moment that turned President Trump's ire towards Maduro right now? What was it about? What do you think was it that struck this up?
Well, we kind of step back or take a look at the overall picture. So we'll say like from 30,000 feet. And it was just, I think it was 2 years ago that the number of people in the United States dying of drug overdoses reached 102,000 in 1 year. 102,000 people dying from fentanyl and cocaine and other kinds of overdoses in the United States. It's like a 747 crashing every single day. And it's such an everyday thing, we just kind of take it for granted. There's a massive, massive number of people. In addition to that, remember that not only 102,000 people dying, but there are tens and tens of thousands of other people becoming addicted to drugs and having ruined lives, who become homeless on the streets of San Francisco or wherever, urinating and defecating on the streets and living hand to mouth. Those people, many of them might have become fathers, might have become mothers, might have become productive citizens with happy lives ruined by drugs. So all those drugs coming to the country is tearing at the fabric of the United States. Of course, then J.D. Vance's mother, in the book, of course, the Hillbilly Elegy, was one of those people who was having their lives ruined. So there's huge damage being done to the country, and one of the key people supporting and instigating that damage was Maduro. So I think it was just his numbers come up. We've got the situation in Iran under control with the help of the B-52s, not B-52s, with the B-2 bombers. And now maybe it's his time. He's doing a lot of damage to the United States, doing a lot of damage to young people, and it's time. And of course, clearly, an illegitimate government. It's time for him to go. I think it was just quite a progression. It's still just the first year of Trump's administration, second administration. So I think his number just came up.
Well, see, you know what, Jared Knott? I'm always looking to see where the nexus are. What's the connections? When you look at how many Venezuelans we are rounding up in this country, Tren de Agua, I'm sure there's probably some former military leaders who are here from Venezuela. Do you think that there could be a connection with the roundup and especially as knowing where the boat routes are and being able to strike them? You think that in a lot of these roundups, we're catching people who have intel and they're telling the United States and they're giving they're letting the United States officials know where the drug routes are, probably where Maduro is as well. What do you think? Is there a connection between that, you think?
Well, yes, I'm sure the CIA is involved, as well as, of course, coordinating with the FBI and coordinating with ICE, and a lot of intelligence is being gathered. Because the Tren de Agua, which is a prison gang, which is Maduro encouraged them, supported them in coming into the United States, selling their drugs and committing their other crimes. Now the crackdown under Trump, I'm sure a huge amount of intelligence is being gathered, and I wonder, it's what you see on the surface, and you have to know there are a lot of other things happening behind the scenes. Maduro is depending on his military to support him, and there's an example going way, way back to when the Panama Canal was built. One of the things that made the takeover, I won't go into details there, was that they paid off one general a huge amount of money to join the support of the uprising that led to Panama being established as a separate country. But my point is, there's probably all kinds of things happening with the generals and the high-ranking officers in the Venezuelan military. Big things are happening. Do you want to be on the right side? Do you want to be on the wrong side? Yes, there's compensation available to you. They're telling what is happening in terms of behind the scenes. So it could be that the foundation on which Maduro stands is crumbling, and he's going to be attacked from many different sides when the time comes.
Now, Jared, I want to pivot to the Russia-Ukraine war. Volodymyr Zelensky was just in the White House. He walked away with no tomahawks. There's a report that there was some raising of voices between President Trump and Zelensky. When you look at if you had to write your tiny blunders, or if you looked at this from your tiny blunder perspective, will this be seen as a tiny blunder or a big disaster should Russia just somehow overtake Ukraine?
Well, there was a reporter that was asking Donald Trump a question, I think it was just yesterday, maybe just recently yesterday. Why doesn't the president give Tomahawk missiles to Zelensky? And he was saying, do you know very much about this, so on and so forth? I don't think you do. It's very complex. Well, it is very much a three-dimensional chess kind of situation with all kinds of things going on, all kinds of moving pieces. But he does not want to use it at this time. He has a meeting, a cell phone call coming up with Putin, I think next week. And hopefully we're going to finally force Putin into some kind of peace deal. It's of course, it's resolved 8 different wars. Amazing. He's resolved 8 different wars in the world, and this is the most difficult one of all, most intractable. He may be able to, if he can pull this one off, I think he'll get the Nobel Peace Prize by acclamation. Of course, it was given to somebody else, but she dedicated it to him.
Yeah.
So that's in the. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. But at the core of the thing, you have a murdering thug, another Stalin who's in charge of Russia. He doesn't care how many thousands of his own people, how many thousands of the Ukrainian people are sacrificed. He just wants to somehow win, but he has to be put in a position where it's clear he can't win. And exactly why he's not, Donald Trump is not offering that tomahawk at this point, I don't know. But there's, I think, well-justified, complex reasons why he is not.
Wow. If you're just joining the show, we're talking to Jared Knott. He's the author of 2 books, Tiny Blunders, Big Disasters, Book 1 and Book 2, 39 Tiny Mistakes That Changed the World Forever. Turning to the Middle East now. You saw President Trump and Marco Rubio, Witkoff, they've brokered, and some people have said, an unexpected ceasefire and peace framework between Israel and Hamas. Now, there are some people who are hailing this as diplomacy at its finest. A lot of other people are saying, oh, yeah, okay, but it's fragile. When you going back to your tiny blunder perspective, what unseen variable could unravel this achievement?
Well, I would give, in my own humble way, give a huge amount of credit to Donald Trump's team. He has a very, very talented and experienced team of advisors on his cabinet, with Marco Rubio and all the others. And so I think it is well thought out, well planned, well executed in the finest details. Now, in terms of tiny mistake, in my second book, I talk about the mistake of October the 7th. The Israeli intelligence forces, one of the most respected and renowned in the world, are nevertheless caught with their guard down on October the 7th, 2 years ago. There were indications that something big was getting ready to happen. The president of Egypt said that he contacted the Net government 3 days before the attack took place and said something big was coming, and to please get ready. They saw people practicing with those gliders, those parachute gliders. There were indications that something was happening, and the Mossad and the intelligence community of Israel, maybe because they were overconfident, maybe because they'd been lulled into a sense of complacency, missed the entire thing. And so that was a tiny mistake on their part that led to a big disaster. By the way, real quickly, the people who study these things in detail said that almost every situation where there is a surprise attack, you go back and take a closer look at the circumstances, and there were indications that something was coming and was just missed put in the wrong context. But that would be the tiny mistake. Now, currently, I don't think they're making any tiny mistakes. Of course, dealing with the people there at Hamas, they're nothing but cutthroats, fanatical, zealous cutthroats, and that they're going to be forced into accepting the peace treaty by the other Arab nations and by the United States.
You know, I found this human element between Steve Witkoff and I forget the name of the Hamas general or whatever position he had. I want to get your take on this real quick.
So we got into the room. The lead negotiator was sitting right next to me.
That negotiator was in Doha when the Israelis struck.
Correct.
He survived, but his son was killed. Is that right?
That's right. And we expressed our condolences to him for the loss of his son. He mentioned it. And I told him that I had lost a son and that we were both members of a really bad club, parents who have buried children.
Witkoff's son, Andrew, died of an opioid overdose at the age of 22.
When Steve and him spoke about their sons, it turned from a negotiation with a terrorist group to seeing two human beings kind of showing a vulnerability with each other.
Is it true that once...
Jared, sometimes shared vulnerabilities can bring peace as well, correct?
Yes, I had not heard that story before. That's very moving.
Yeah.
And that would cause someone to, I think, open up and accept the other person who would share that kind of pain and personal grief. So that was an interesting dynamic to the entire situation. There are many moving parts to these negotiations, but that's a very interesting human element I was not aware of.
Jared Knott, where can people find your books?
Yes, if you can go, please, to tinyblundersbigdisasters.com. tinyblundersbigdisasters.com. It's a fun website. We have Instagram reels there. We have a John Wayne reel. We have an Elon Musk reel. And we have a Watergate reel. Plus, we have 2 free chapters and a portrait gallery with 27 personalities and a little bit of dirt on each one. I say that tongue-in-cheek. But it's a fun place to visit. And we have a special this week. Book 2 has just come out 10 days ago. And I think it's my 10,000-hour book. So I love book 1. I'm very proud of book 1. Book 2 is even better. And if you read the first 2 or 3 pages, you'll find it very difficult to put down.
All right. Jared Knott, decorated combat veteran and award-winning author. Thanks so much for joining us on Detroit's Morning Answer today.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Always. Thank you, my brother. We'll be right back.